What a beautiful song to begin our Sunday service on this last Sunday in January. And we are so blessed today, surrounded by love, letting love flow into us, through us, and from us. And we welcome anybody who's new to our Sunday service, including our dear speaker today, Rev Rona from New Westminster. We welcome Tom all the way in Mexico, and Gary, who works so often that we don't see him much, but we're happy he's with us. We welcome all who may be viewing this now or in times to come. Our vision at Unity of London and our vision worldwide is a magnificent vision. It's a world, a whole world, powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. That is powerful, and we are part of that. Our mission is part of our vision, and we, each one of us, co-creates with Spirit to transform lives, our own lives and the lives of everyone we come in contact with. We do that by doing what we do best, by loving each other, by supporting each other, and also by extending that to include our community. We promote self-expression, and you know that each of us has our own individual way of expressing. Some will do it on the stage. Some will do it quietly over the phone. Some will do it in their own special way, and we honor each way. We live what we believe, the 5 principles, and we talked about those a few weeks ago. And the most magnificent one is that we believe in divine presence inside each of us, living as us, shining forth as us. That's powerful. Our goal is to inspire people, each other, to make a positive difference in the world. So let all the negativity out. We choose to inspire positively. And our goal online and later on when we get back in person is to provide fellowship and education for spiritual seekers of all walks of life. Doesn't matter what you do for a living. Today, our dear Don Briglio, our prayer chaplain, will be available for one-on-one prayer, and Larry will arrange that you can go to the private room for that prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable and go to your heart space. Dear Paula Cartland reminded me of a favorite prayer a few weeks ago, the prayer of St. Francis, and paraphrasing that today, especially in view of what's going on in our nation's capital. We choose to be channels of peace. We choose, disregarding anything else that's happening. We choose to act in love. We affirm that our true faith in divine presence can release any doubt we may have personally or as a community. We are not frail, we are strong in spirit. We affirm that strength for people of all ages and all walks of life. Out of sadness, we know that we can find joy. Out of darkness, we can be beacons of light. True faith in divine presence for our leaders, the members of our community, and all those we know and love. I invite you to take a moment just to whisper the names of those who are close to your heart. And we hold in prayer any members of our Unity of London community who are in need of support and strength. We won't name them. You know them in your heart. For all of our prayers, prayed in faith, prayed in love, we say Amen. Our daily word today will be read by our dear Nancy Youngson. Nancy.
Today's theme is world peace, and the affirmation from the daily word, I envision all people living in harmony. Sometimes I wonder about my place in a world that is changing so rapidly. I realize that many of the world's people may be wondering the same thing. Change can feel scary, especially when I feel as though I have to navigate a shifting landscape alone. I expand my awareness and wonder whether others are feeling the way I do. Feeling fearful or insecure can overwhelm feelings of peace. And as peace then can seem further and further away, it's easy to drift into isolation and discord. But then I pray, reclaiming peace by feeling my divine identity as a child of God. I remember that all people share this divine identity. I include all the world's people in prayer, envisioning us coming together in harmony to create a peaceful world. And from Hebrews 12, verse 14, pursue peace with everyone and the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. She is listening live with us, and she will be with us after, and it is Rev Rona Segerra. She's a minister of Unity of New Westminster Spiritual Community in New Westminster, BC. Rona appreciates the opportunity to share ideas which can empower people to enjoy more freedom and contentment in their lives. Rona also loves to officiate at weddings. She really loves it because she conducted 42 weddings in 2021. Passionate about people, Rona's mission is to fill the world with love, one interaction at a time. Here we go with Rona, Rev Rona.
As you may know, I officiate at many weddings. I have just completed the 40th wedding that I have officiated at just this year. And often, as part of their vows, a couple will promise to be faithful to each other. In the past few weeks, we've been exploring what Paul calls to the Galatians. He tells them that if they lived spirit-filled lives, which I understand to mean as living our lives from a place of wholeheartedness, a place of awareness that we are part of one universal power and that we're all connected to each other, then these fruits of the spirits are attributes and values and characteristics which would flow from us naturally without any need for a written law. I learned the fruits of the Spirit from a song that we used to sing at church. And if you'll pardon my singing, which you all should be somewhat used to by now, I'll try and remember how to sing it. It went something like this. For the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. For such there is no law. So that's how I can remember them pretty clearly. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. 9 fruits of the Spirit. And today, I want to talk about faithfulness. In spiritual circles, we talk a lot about faith, but we don't often talk about faithfulness. What is faithfulness? Well, if you were to go to Wikipedia, you'd get this response. Wikipedia defines faithfulness as, and I quote, the concept of unfailingly remaining loyal to someone or something and putting that loyalty into consistent practice regardless of extenuating circumstances. It may be exhibited by a husband or wife who does not engage in sexual relationships outside of the marriage. End quote. Merriam-Webster dictionary says this. Faithfulness, quote, loyal, such as a faithful friend, steadfast in allegiance. Conscientious, such as a faithful employee, firm in adherences to promises or in observance of duty. Binding, such as a faithful promise, something that is given with a strong assurance. And true, such as a faithful copy, true to the facts, to a standard, or to an original. We also refer to the faithful as a group, such as the faithful, when we talk about a group of people who believe in something, or a person, one who is faithful, such as a loyal follower, member, or fan. End quote. Merriam-Webster. If I were to put that all together in my language, it would be that faithfulness, especially to others, is acting with integrity and remaining loyal, even when circumstances or other opinions might cause us to doubt. Acting with integrity and remaining loyal, even when circumstances or other opinions might cause us to doubt. This definition is one that we want to apply to people in our world. It is true in our relationships with all people, and most especially true for the people that we care about. We want to be faithful to our spouses, to our children, to our parents, our siblings, our extended families, our neighbors. And one of the main areas where we fail at being faithful is in what we say about other people. And so one way that we can demonstrate faithfulness is to look at how we speak and how we don't speak about others. If our definition of faithfulness is integrity and loyalty, then we want to speak from integrity and speak with loyalty. We read about the power of the tongue in perhaps my favorite book in the Christian scriptures, in what we know colloquially as the New Testament, the book of James. I like James because he is both practical and wise, and it's also the name of one of my uncles, so I like it even more. James talks about how just a few words used with intention can have an influence on many. And so as I read this passage, think of an instance that you may have experienced where a few words of gossip, a few words of innuendo, a few words of rumor or doubt or disinformation may have influenced you. And he speaks about the power of just a few words to make a big difference, both positively and negatively. In this case, I'm asking you to think in terms of the power of the negative word. So James chapter 3, beginning at verse 3, and I quote, "When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire. So James is saying that a few words can make a big difference. He refers to words as being able to corrupt, that is, to infect or destroy a body. That body can be a person, a community, a family unit, a workplace, a society, or a country. Our speech can corrupt any of these bodies. And then he uses quite intense language when he says that with speech, we can set the course of a body's life on fire. In Proverbs, we are told that life and death are in the power of the tongue. That's Proverbs 18, verse 21. Speech, then, can give life, and it can sap life, take life away. The power of our speech is crucial if we are to demonstrate faithfulness to the people we care about. So let's look at how we can increase the level of our faithfulness to others using the power of our speech. Imagine that all of our conversations can be represented by one of two pyramids, two columns, if you will. Both are identical, except for their base. At the foundation of the first pyramid, we see facts. We see facts, and then above that, we see opinions, accusations, judgments, and actions forming the higher levels. At the foundation of the second pyramid, we see the same upper levels, opinions, accusations, judgments, and actions. But the base is different. Instead of facts, as we saw in the first pyramid, the foundation of the second pyramid is innuendo, also known as rumor. Now, let's think of these pyramids as representative of our conversations. And whether they are about something or someone, let's assume that all of our conversations are either based in innuendo and rumor or fact. Both may lead to action. Both will potentially lead to acceptance or rejection of an idea or a person. But one pyramid of conversation, the one based on innuendo and rumor, happens in the dark. It is hidden from the view of the people or the entities who are the subject of the conversation, while the other, the one based on fact, holds those conversations in the open. So one level of conversation is subversive, innuendo, and one is transparent, fact. And remember, we demonstrate faithfulness by how we speak and don't speak about others. And applying our definition of faithfulness, we want to speak from integrity and with loyalty. Let's look at a conversation pyramid of the innuendo and rumor first. This is the arena where gossip thrives. Suggestions, hints, possibilities may be presented as facts. And in fact, innuendos and rumors are often partially factual, which is what makes them so believable. A discussion at the level of innuendo often starts with the words, "Guess what?" and often ends with the words, promise you won't tell? This asking for a promise of secrecy almost guarantees that the rumor will spread to other people, often becoming increasingly embellished with every retelling. Eventually, when we base our conversations on rumor and innuendo, the distinction between fact and fiction becomes murkier and murkier and murkier. And the unwitting and unsuspecting subject of our parking lot conversations may have absolutely no idea that there are stories being told around their back, until they are essentially tried, judged, and convicted in the court of public opinion without any opportunity to share the facts. And even if they could share the facts at that point, and by that point, often it is too late. The damage is done. Rumor and innuendo is the most dangerous level of conversation. It is often a conversation initiated just by one or two people, but it can spread like wildfire, just as James said in his letter. It can lead to rejection of a person, rejection of an idea. Speech that starts as innuendo can lead to opinions that are based on falsehoods. And then those opinions can eventually lead to actions such as isolation and rejection, all based on falsehood. Indeed, rumor and innuendo can lead to the corruption of the body that James spoke about, set on fire the life of the person, the family, the community, the workplace, or the country. And an example of this that we see is occasionally in politics, where a rumor is started and which takes hold. And even though the accusation may have no merit, the judgment is made, the damage is done, and the career is ended. Instead, the desirable conversation is formed with facts as the base and the basis of our discussions. Facts can be verified, they can be supported, and they can be agreed upon by an outside observer. Our opinions about a subject or a person may rest, or they may change based on factual information. We may make decisions and accusations and judgments based on facts. And indeed, we might even take action, including rejection or banishment or isolation of a person based on those facts. So it's not as if the actions and the opinions won't happen, but we base them on facts, not on rumor. For example, if it is proven that someone has stolen from a workplace, a typical action in our society is to make a decision to fire them and potentially to accuse and judge them in court and send them to prison. So to be faithful and loyal does not deny fact. It does disallow rumor. We want to limit our speech and our conversations to discussions which are based on facts. Well, how do we do that? One idea is to set a boundary, to refuse to speak about anything or anyone if the opinion is based on rumor or innuendo, especially if the person is not in the room. That means that when somebody comes to us and wants to talk about someone, or they come up to us with a, guess what? We direct them with words such as, I'm not going to talk about Jane, John, Sally. insert name here, unless they are here. Or, I want to be faithful to people who aren't here to hear what's being said about them. Let's talk about something else. Refuse to speak about someone who isn't there. Another idea is to ask for clarity. When someone is sharing an opinion about someone or something, ask, how did you arrive at that conclusion? What exactly did they do? In this way, we become a voice for the truth, and we insist on discussion at the level of fact. What about when we know factual information about someone or something? Well, remember, we demonstrate faithfulness by how we speak and don't speak about others. And so before we become the tattletale with our own, guess what? Let's pause to consider if what we're about to share is ours to tell. Whether it's good news or sad news, let's be sure to ask permission before we spread information, even if it's true. Throughout our conversations, we want to continually monitor which pyramid we are speaking from. Is our discussion based on fact, or is it just based on rumor? Is the loud voice of opinion of someone else in the room speaking from fact, or are they speaking from rumor? If it's not based on fact, speak up, ask for clarity, request that the conversation be limited to facts. And when we do that, when we start limiting our conversations to those that are based in fact, we may notice how often people speak with authority and conviction, with strongly formed opinions based in innuendo and in rumor. We may notice that people don't actually know what else to say to us. We may discover that our entire relationship is based on gossiping about something or someone. And that's okay. We'll either find something new to talk about, or we'll find ourselves drifting apart. Either way, the relationship is more productive when it is not participating in gossip. And then 2 final thoughts I want to share with you with respect to how we can be more faithful to others. The first is to do with the term you may have heard called triangulation. Triangulation is often considered to be something that we want to avoid. It is what happens when we speak to someone else about someone else. So there's me, you, and a third person. And often triangulation is harmful when our gossip is based on innuendo and falsehood, when we complain and share our opinions and concerns and speak with multiple people about someone rather than to the subject of our upset. That can be hurtful, harmful, and disrespectful. However, I want to offer the idea that triangulation is sometimes helpful. Triangulation is sometimes helpful. If we have a situation, either fact-based or some rumor that we have heard that is concerning to us, it may be very useful to speak to 1 or 2 trusted people to help us to clarify our thinking, to help us to discern the wisest course of action. This trusted person could be a friend, a counselor, a parent, a minister, a sibling, a physician, a spouse. The important personality trait that we want to look for in that person is that they be willing to listen, that they be willing to be non-judgmental, and that they be able to hold the conversation in sacred confidentiality. In this way, triangles work. They help us to get clear about what's really going on for us so that we can take sane, sensible, thoughtful, and loving action. And the last thought I have is this. Let's not be too hard on ourselves when we fail to be faithful to others. We humans are hardwired to be a part of community. We are hardwired to protect ourselves. And from the time of our ancestors, membership in the tribe represented safety and security. And as a result, we naturally try to ensure that we are part of the power group. For our ancestors, the alternative could mean death, exclusion from the tribe by banishment, and isolation was a serious punishment because it could be literally life-threatening. Only execution was worse. Today, exclusion from the tribe is still a serious punishment, and we fear it, to the point that we will risk and become, at times, less than faithful. In the Christian scriptures, Jesus refers to his disciple Simon as Peter, which means rock, Simon Peter. And Jesus said that on that rock he would build his church. Not long after Jesus said that to Simon Peter, he warned Peter that in the morning, the next morning, before the rooster crowed, that Peter, that rock on which Jesus said he would build his church, would deny that he knew Jesus. And Jesus foretold that Peter would not just deny Jesus once, but he would deny Jesus 3 times. Of course, Peter vehemently protested, assuring Jesus that he would be completely faithful to him. And when the time came and Peter was questioned and accused by the mob, he did just as Jesus predicted. He disowned Jesus 3 times in a row. And it was only when he heard the rooster crowing that Peter realized what he had done, and he was overcome with grief. This story illustrates how challenging it can be to remain faithful to others despite our very best intentions. Why did Peter fail in his test of faith? Why do we sometimes fail at being faithful? Well, the more I think about this question, the more it seems to me that the reason that we betray others are all related to our own sense of security and self-worth. If we were aware of our own goodness, if we were solid with ourselves, if you will, then we wouldn't need that false sense of camaraderie, that juicy energy that comes from feeling that we're part of the in crowd. We wouldn't need to feel that we are part of the group in order to feel safe. The more we are able to be faithful to ourselves, the more we can trust ourselves, the more we can be independent of the crowd and realize that we don't need to live in the fear that our ancestors lived in, then the easier it will be to differentiate between conversations, opinions, accusations, which are built on fact and those which are built on rumor and innuendo. as we expand our faith-filled and faithful life. We grow in our faithfulness towards others by becoming aware of the power of speech. We use our power of speech for good. We refuse to engage in conversations which are based in rumor, innuendo, and gossip. We speak up for those who aren't in the room. We encourage speaking to people rather than about people. We share only the information that is ours to share. And we honor confidentiality and any information that is shared with us confidentially. If we decide that we must speak to a third party, we do so intentionally and with discernment, speaking only to people who we trust will hold that same level of confidentiality as we hold for ourselves. Above all, we choose to base our speech in fact, in love, in consideration of the people we are speaking about. And we are faithful and true to ourselves and to our values, as well as the people around us when we live by these guidelines. May we all bless our lives and the lives of those we care about by living a faithful life. I bless you.
Thank you very much, Rev Rona, for sharing a message that has many depths to it. The power of speech, the need for us to base our conversations on fact rather than rumor, the advice to speak to someone rather than about someone. I don't know about anyone else, but this struck a little core in me. The whole idea of wanting to be part of the group and choosing to be faithful to ourselves instead. It was a message with a lot of depth. And I'm sure that those who may choose to watch it later on may catch parts of it that really resonated. So we thank you very much for sharing. This was a little longer than usual for our message, so we will bypass our meditation for today, and we will move straight into a song by one of our favorite singers, Paul Luftenegger. And I thank Larry Bro so much because he's worked hard to compress this song a little bit, so just be patient. Oh, I guess we can't hear Paul today. That's too bad. And it was because that was a message that included a lot of speaking and singing. But I do urge all of you to go to Paul Luftenegger's website to listen to some of his music. It's beautiful, beautiful music. And Teresa might still have some of his CDs. So I don't know. Yes, she's nodding. So if you want to contact Teresa to get some of Paul's CDs. We changed our slide last week to represent Larry and Catherine's driveway. No, that's not why we did it. It's to represent the beauty of the season of winter. May we rejoice in that beauty. May we rejoice in nature as we rejoice in the abundance that is all of ours. Just look around you right now and you will feel and sense the abundance. And we appreciate all of you for sharing your time with us today, for sharing your talents, your energy. And if you wish to share your financial abundance, you can e-transfer your donations now to unityoflondon@hotmail.com. We rejoice in our chance to share of our good, whether that's financial good or time good. They are both valuable. And we rejoice in each of you. And now let us go to our prayer for protection. I invite you to share it out loud, as we always do. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And London, we go, yay, God. So you can imagine all of us together going, yay, God. And now a song that's one of Larry's favorites, and we all enjoy it. Let us keep Ottawa close to our hearts. And I forgot to include, today we hold in prayer Unity of York Region and Unity Ottawa. So Unity Ottawa will be praying big time today. I mean, I'm sure they pray all the time, but we hold them in prayer.
Can't hear you, Pauline.
God, the famous unmute yourself. Please join us in fellowship. And if you've got any, I'm sure that you might have questions or comments or thoughts for Rev Rona. She stayed with us on purpose. And she stayed all through the service, which I thought was pretty neat. So just, you know how it works. Just put your hand up and share. Maybe you're also mesmerized by that message. Peggy?
Yes, it really was mesmerizing. It really did hit home, I think, to me and probably to many others, that how much of our conversation does revolve around talking about others. And definitely need that reminder to, maybe it's just a good idea to call that kind of conversation to a halt early on, So thank you for that.
Thanks, Peggy. And Wilda? Wilda has her hand up, but she looks frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, while she thaws out, does anyone else have a... Sorry.
Pretty cold up there.
Nancy.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the many things I studied was history. And it's like when you mentioned politics there, Rona, it's like you just take a big sigh and you try to recenter yourself in love in the universe, because the way even facts, is it kind? Nope. Was it necessary? Nope. But it's brought in and it's used as manipulation. And, I can think of incidents that it's that line between where is that coming from, that sharing, is it coming for the best of the other and yourself and going towards healing? It's huge, it really is. And I look at my own personal, through a group I've been belonged to the last couple of years, the way of the heart and the way of knowing and the way of transformation really makes you take a look at your relationships. And, even if it was quote factual, it might not have been kind. And do you still have that in your heart? And to free your heart from that, do the healing work and put that person in relationship in love. And if you're going to do something, if it's possible or you want that change, you have to do it directly, and it's really big. And it was funny, just the other day, I thought, you always think you've cleaned the slate, right? And I'm walking by this neighbor and I realized, oops, I still have a grudge. He broke my cherry tree. I gotta let that go. And I gotta bless him when I see him instead of thinking, he broke my cherry tree. Anyway.
Thanks for sharing, Nancy. Well, Wilda's moving now, so maybe Wilda.
Yeah.
Wilda?
Thank you. Yeah, I froze up, so I had to leave and come back on. So Reverend Rona, I'd like to thank you very much for your talk today. As Pauline says, there was certainly a lot of depth there. But one of the things that I struggle with is, and not necessarily with the personal relationship sort of stuff, but is the whole idea of what is a fact. And of course, especially when it comes to, like I appreciated the visual image that you gave of those towers and how the top of the towers, whether it's based in innuendo or based in fact, they're all the same. So then of course I was thinking, so a few years ago, the new term was coined, alternate facts. And so the issue in personal relationships, absolutely, like, if I am concerned about something or whatever, I can go directly to that person. But when we as humans are trying to make all of those other ideas, like to try and determine what actually is a fact, that is, to me, that is the biggest challenge we are facing right now, because everybody has an opinion, no question about that. And everybody says, well, these are the facts, but are they the facts? So very interesting. And I don't know that there's an answer to that question or not. And I don't even know if it was a question, but certainly that was what came up for me during your talk. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Wilda. Rona, you can see that you planted all kinds of seeds today. And these are just a few people who shared. Anybody else who's Sylvia Square? Sylvia, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
There you
Thanks, Pauline. Oh, excuse me. Thank you very much, Rev Rona. I really appreciate. Rang quite a few bells for me. Once again, I couldn't write as fast as I wanted to, but I found I was very, I guess the only word that's working for me right now is sparked by that image of the tongue being so small but so powerful, like a spark in the middle of a forest. That was just a oh wow moment for me. And I'm certainly, thank you for pointing me towards James. I'm going to sit with him for a little bit, and it sounds like he really had he already had it, together, what we're sort of struggling to understand in our moment by moment decisions. So thank you for that. And I just wondered, I didn't catch quickly enough that little song, which was beautifully in tune. Thank you. I see that as a lovely mantra to take through the day, just remembering those things. So where we might find that song, where did you say it was from?
It's a good question. I haven't looked for it. I remember it from when I was a teenager and earlier, growing up in the Anglican church. And so it was one of the songs that they had. I imagine if you Google it, I'll try and do it while we're chatting. I'll see if I can find it and find
Oh
a link.
yeah. Google is easy to do. Yeah, I definitely will try looking that up. But thank you so much. That was great. Yeah.
Rev Rona, do you know
Yeah.
that song off by heart? Could you do it for us right now live?
Sure.
Really put you on the spot there.
Oh, you must be Unity of New Westminster. Yeah, the song is, for the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. For such there is no law. I kind of messed up.
Oh, yay, yay. Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah,
It's simple and it's heartfelt. Thank you, Sylvia Square, for suggesting. And well, I know you didn't ask her to sing it right now, but thank you, Rona.
Okay, so I just Googled it because I have another screen. And so it comes, when you Google what are the fruits of, it comes up actually Holy Spirit, and they are all listed here. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. So it just comes up when you Google that.
Yay, Wilda. And maybe we can include it in our service sometime. Wow.
And it's in Galatians 3 or something. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to know the circumstances of that discussion, because contextually, that was Paul writing to the Galatians, who were having a whole discussion about whether or not people who are non-Jewish could be entered into this new following of Jesus. And so the question for them was, should the boys be circumcised? And what Paul was saying is, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the laws. There is no law needed if you are living from spirit. So there's your contextual information about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Catherine?
Hi, Rona. It's so good to see you, my dear. I remember Rona when she was still going through school and living at Unity Village. I mean, how lucky is that, eh? So yeah, it's great to see you. And you know what? I loved your analogy of the ship. And, I saw the ship as our world, our outer, and me as the captain, and always forgetting that without the rudder, I'm ashore, or I'm into a rock or an iceberg or something. Then remembering that, my higher power, whatever we choose to call it, is my only rudder. And it seems so small and it seems so insignificant when I'm going through something. And so I thank you for that this morning. And I do want to share something with my family here, with permission from my sister. My baby sister has been re-diagnosed after 17 years of being totally clear. And she has a huge mass in her lungs, and it is in her bones. And, she's the baby in the family. It's not supposed to happen that way. But, I'm not the rudder on this. And so I just ask you to hold positive energy for my family. It's my whole family that's, everyone that's come in touch with her, because she is one of the brightest lights in this world that I have ever seen. And so, you know, I'm really, really hurting today, and I'm really sad, and I'm really angry. And I loved what you shared today, because a lot of this stuff is very personal, but it is important to share it. It's very important to not carry this alone. And I did ask my sister permission last night. Are you keeping this close, or is it okay if I share it? And she said, I don't care who knows. It's whatever you need to do. And so, yeah, it doesn't dampen my faith, or I don't question why or any of that. It just is. So it was so nice to see my friend Rona here today, and to hear your talk. It was so clear, and it was so easy to understand. You know, it was easy to really see myself, and that's where I grow, is when a talk allows me to go within and see myself in this, not how somebody else talked about me one day, or how, you know, when I left AA after 30 years, I was exercised, you know, that did come to my mind as you shared, but that's not what it's about. It was about staying true to myself and really giving my head a shake and say, does this work for me? Is this what I really believe? Is this who I am? And when the answer is no, I've had to make some tough decisions. And so this talk today was really, it might cause you some isolation, it might cause some separation, but the joy comes back to being who you really are, right, Rona?
Exactly, Catherine.
And standing
Thank
firm
you.
in that, yeah, with integrity.
And
Thanks.
what's your sister's name?
Florence.
Florence. And would
Flo.
you mind if we added her to our prayer list?
I would love that. But just the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be glad when January's passed. We just lost my sister-in-law on January 3rd of cancer. You know, she's been my sister-in-law for 52 years. So I think we get to this age, you know, and this is what starts to happen. It's nobody gets out alive, but that's kind of me trying to make light. But yeah, it is what it is. And we go through it together, not alone. So thanks.
Well, all blessings to you all. And remember that we say every week, we are the light of God. Well, and the light of God surrounds us. Well, we here represent God. And so the light of this community surrounds you and your family. The love of this community surrounds you and your family. The presence that we hold for you surrounds you and your family. And the power, which is, where is the power?
Right here.
Right here.
Yep.
The base of the tongue.
Yep.
Also.
Thank you.
Big hugs to you.
Thanks, Rev Rona. And Catherine, you know that we all love you.
Oh, I know that.
We love you as humans, but
even if you don't like me, you gotta love me.
We are truly a family. Truly a unity family.
Yeah.
United in love and support.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot of sharing. And I'm sure a lot of people will be taking home this message and thinking about it in our conversations, and thinking about the whole area of faithfulness to ourselves too, and to our integrity. Gary is saying, thank you, Rev Rona.
It is my honor, my pleasure. Lovely to be with you all.
Larry has a message. Larry?
Yeah, really enjoyed it, Rev Rona, and good to see you. Yeah, as always. But I just wanted to add a little shout out for Peggy Matzer. I don't know if you're noticing the what do you call it?
The newsletter?
No.
Closed captioning.
Captioning on the bottom of the screen. Is everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Not everybody's seeing it. Some are, some aren't.
You can turn it on and off individually.
It's small.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
Special thanks, Peggy.
you're welcome.
well, Paula can see it. So anybody who's hard of hearing, there is closed captioning on the screen, and there's some way to bring it on and off. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, it's down on the screen here, live transcript.
Yes,
You
that's
click
where you
on,
go in.
now Peggy brought this up a couple of weeks ago, and I changed it in our meeting standards in our setup. But Peggy, you had to ask to bring it up live. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, I sent a request when I thought about it during this, during today's service. I didn't think about it till later. I use it on other meetings, but we usually have to turn it on at the beginning of the meeting, and then people can individually decide to have it or not, have
Okay.
it turned on or not. So,
Is that
but we
something
try to remember to do it at the beginning.
Okay.
Turn it on.
Anyway, good to know. And that's for those of us that are getting hard of hearing
Hey, Peggy.
and have a new set of glasses. Yeah, anyway, we're all good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, great meeting. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Rev Rona.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Sister Sophia.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you too. Everybody have a fabulous day.